Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew, and we are going to break down all the speculation and stuff going into the next episode of The Mandalorian. This is where you want to pay attention to possibilities. What's going to happen with Grogu? Stay tuned.
Ooh. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Like Chris said, today we're doing a full speculation video for Star Wars The Mandalorian series based on the information we just got in the last episode, which is The Jedi, where we saw Ahsoka Tano. So I hope you got your tinfoil hats on, because we're going to do a great, crazy speculations for the next episode and the rest of the season. Now, we have our resident Star Wars expert here, Chris. There's only two of us, so it's not me. You already know this, right? So, Chris, I know you have theories that are going to blow off my mind. It's going to blow it off. I'm ready. It's really explode my mind. Why am I saying blow off?
I don't know. Blow off your head? Blow off the top of your head?
So, all right, break it down. Your crazy theories, and then let's ride the wave.
Yeah. So these theories can be a little crazy, but it's also based in logic too, because we have to deal with the time period we're in right now.
By the way, spoilers.
Oh, absolute spoilers for episode 5, The Jedi. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Then see our last episode that we broke down all Easter eggs in the entire episode and talked about that. But yeah, so the biggest one for me is when Ahsoka sends Mando and Grogu into...
Say Baby Yoda. Stop using that fake name.
I just like saying Grogu. It's like a weird Muppet Goku mashup. And if you send it into this ether of like, hey... go to this next planet Tython, and there's going to be a Jedi temple, put him on the Seeing Stone, where he's going to be able to choose his path. And one thing we didn't mention in the last episode is she mentions that if he uses the Force, if he decides to go down the path of the Force, then, boom, that might connect to other Jedi.
I think it's not going to connect to a Jedi. I think it's going to connect to a Sith, and we're going to find out Moff Gideon is a Sith Lord. Boom.
So Sith Lord we've been looking for.
That's my theory.
So that's one of the questions too, right? Is Moff Gideon Force sensitive? And I think that's a big question that's overhanging. But so this is the one weird issue / something or other within this. There's not a lot of Jedi left. Ahsoka says it herself. This is about a couple years after the Empire fell in Episode 6. The only Jedi left right now are Ahsoka Tano and Luke Skywalker.
And Ezra. Is Ezra alive?
We don't know.
We know Luke's alive.
We know Luke's alive, and we know Ahsoka's alive. The only other thing that I could think of is a flashback within Grogu's mind. Maybe he goes into this Force-scape where you can see the past and everything like that. We know that Ewan McGregor was on set trying on his Obi-Wan robes for Kenobi.
Yeah.
Could we get some type of Obi-Wan Force presence in Grogu's past that Obi-Wan knows who Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, is?
Maybe Obi-Wan saved Grogu. Maybe we're going to see that?
Which is tough to believe, because in Episode 3, after Anakin kills the younglings, we have to assume Grogu was already out, right? Like he's escaped, somebody took him, because Yoda and Obi-Wan get there much later after that's happened.
That's true. So it wouldn't be him.
I don't know necessarily that. Maybe Obi-Wan, being a Jedi Master, was a teacher in the youngling school, and maybe Grogu knows who he is.
Okay. And
we could possibly have an Obi-Wan cameo through the Force, through a vision. Or, which is crazy to think about, do we get some type of de-age Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker?
I think, honestly, if they're going to get any Luke Skywalker in this show or in the Ahsoka show, I think they're just going to go with Sebastian Stan.
Oh, Sebastian Stan, who looks just like him.
It's
kind of scary how much he looks like him, right?
For those of you who don't know the actor I'm referencing, Sebastian Stan is the Winter Soldier from Marvel.
Yes.
You know, it's all under one umbrella. It looks just like him. Mark Hamill himself said it looked like him.
My son.
He's like, is that my son? I'm like, okay. Yep. So, that's what, if they did that, right?
But I don't even think they would, because I think with Disney, we've seen throughout Marvel and Lucasfilm, they are very good with the de-aging process, right? We've seen it with Kurt Russell and Guardians. We've seen it with Sam Jackson.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have Hamill, who's already advocated, he could be a young Luke Skywalker, I don't see a reason to waste the money to de-age, because it's very expensive to de-age.
So, it's not like they don't have the money.
I know, but they could take that money and put it towards something else and just hire Sebastian Stan.
I don't know. To me, it has to be Hamill. Like if you have Hamill, it has to be Hamill.
I don't think you're gonna notice a big difference. I mean, you will. Let me rephrase that.
Well,
you are gonna
Star
be like,
Wars fans will notice.
That wrinkle is off. I'm gonna be like, that's passes. It's fine.
Dude, I love Sebastian Stan. I don't think Filoni and Favreau would even touch that as like. There's no way we're gonna like. Star Wars fans will crucify them.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah. You don't know the power of these crazy Star Wars fans. Trust me.
Speaking of power, do you have any theories and speculations on Ahsoka and Thrawn? Are we going to get that in Mandalorian? Is that the spin-off show?
Absolutely. I think number one, right? I think Filoni clearly left that back door open, right? For Ahsoka to have her own show. Another thing is like I can't see you giving us Ahsoka live action for one episode and never again. Right?
She's probably going to come back to help take down Moff Gideon. You know, when they do the giant siege of Mandalore.
I really want to see that Darksaber versus her like go at it.
Oh, it's going to happen.
And also the fact of this is the last time we saw Ahsoka was at the end of Rebels. She was going into wild space with Sabine to find Ezra. Mm-hmm. So this is, you know, the prequel, not the prequel, but the original trilogy is about maybe 4 years long. Okay. So she's been searching for Ezra and Thrawn this entire time. Maybe she hasn't found them. Maybe she did and lost them again. Maybe Ezra's dead. Maybe Sabine is dead.
I think
maybe one or the other's dead. Maybe they're both dead. And she's going after Thrawn for revenge, which is very not Jedi. But we also saw her cut through people. She is clearly on this warpath to find Thrawn.
Yeah. Thrawn
is a major character who everyone loves as this intelligent, brilliant tactician. Mm-hmm. Thrawn also could be, is a possibility that Thrawn is actually who Moff Gideon is basically going to. Is Thrawn in the background somehow? Is Thrawn on Mandalore? Does he run Mandalore with Moff Gideon? And they're using that as kind of the Imperial base to reform the Imperials with these warriors who now have to listen to them because Moff Gideon has the Darksaber.
And Moff Gideon's not the real ultimate bad guy. It's Thrawn. And Moff Gideon is just working on the science wing of the Imperial side.
Is it the Vader to the Emperor situation where Moff Gideon is the enforcer, but the brains behind the operation is Thrawn, and Thrawn's the one trying to
be sick.
Thrawn's in there trying to, like as we saw in the last episode, possibly creating Snoke, trying to bring the Emperor back, whatever that may be, using midichlorians. Thrawn would know about the Jedi. He's faced Ezra. He's faced Kanan. He's faced all these Jedi, and he was around when Vader was basically in his prime.
Now, do we know if Ahsoka is confirmed or not for her own live action series?
There's no confirmation at the moment. The only other confirmed series is Kenobi.
Okay.
Which is why I also think Obi-Wan might cameo in this like Force thing that Baby Yoda's going to go through. And the other show that we know that is actually approved is the Cassian Andor and K2SO series that takes place before Rogue One, which obviously can't take place afterwards because they die.
Yeah.
But so those are the only two that are confirmed right now. I can't not see them letting Filoni, after everything he's done for Star Wars in general, not have his Ahsoka show and finish her story the way he wants to from when he started.
My thing with Ahsoka and Thrawn, like, I'm fine with them having a spinoff, but I don't think, if we get an Ahsoka show, I don't think we're going to see Thrawn in Mandalorian. We're going to see Thrawn in Ahsoka.
That's a possibility. That's an either-or still for me.
Yeah,
that's an either-or for me still.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you could have the coup de grace of this show. You could have them interweave, right? Like, this timeline is going to be interwoven. You could have Ahsoka have her own show, going after Thrawn. Is Sabine alive? Is Ezra alive? Does she find either one?
And they have crossover episodes, Mandalorian / Ahsoka.
And then it goes back to Mandalorian, where maybe, you know, they take back the planet Mandalore, which is what Bo-Katan is trying to do, right? Yes. And Thrawn could be held up there and, you know, basically giving orders to the remnants of the Empire and Moff Gideon from there, and that goes back to Mandalorian. Or
I have a theory for you.
Ooh.
Because I know we're going to talk about Baby Yoda going to the temple, right? I have a theory when Baby Yoda goes to the temple, sits on the stone, and connects with the Force, it's going to awaken the Force in Mando. I think Mando is going to be a Jedi, and he's going to be a descendant of the long-lost first Mandalorian Jedi.
Of the Vizslas?
Of the Vizslas.
That would be
he's going to be
sick.
the one with the saber, dealing with the connections with the baby. That's why he has this connection with the baby. Aside from this father-son dynamic, there's a connection with the Force, right? That we don't know. He's going to be like, oh, I don't want this. Greatness is thrust upon him. I don't want to be the one that brings back Mandalore. Bo-Katan's like, oh, it's you. It has to be you. And he's going to have to get the Darksaber, lead him. He's going to be the Jedi-Mandalorian combination. Bada bing, bada boom.
That would be insane. My only issue or question would be, even Ahsoka does this too in this episode, where she's like refusing to train him the same way like Anakin got refused to be trained in episode 1 because he's too old. Din Djarin's way too old to start training, wouldn't he? In that logic, I mean, unless he's already a warrior, right? So it's more so force and not fighting.
Yeah,
that he's learning how to do. There's still questions of how Boba Fett fits into this. Also, Mando.
I forgot all about Boba Fett. I forgot he was a character in this season.
That's the point. They want you to forget, and I'm like, is he going to pop up here? Is he going to pop up here?
Yeah.
And the other side is also, with that. And Boba Fett in this possibly, we also have the question of, are there other Jedi that maybe we've never known before out there that are going to connect with Baby Yoda, right? Is it a character we don't know? Because during Order 66, we know the Jedi were not only just killed, but the ones that survived were hunted down. Mm-hmm. They were tracked and hunted until almost extinction. They're mostly thought of as myths. Mando doesn't even know what the Force is. He's like, yeah, he has powers, and Ahsoka gives him the explanation of, no, it's an energy field. It's how his powers.
It's a life force,
real.
Yeah,
and so he's very like, these are just legends. These are just stories of these people, and now he's seeing one firsthand. And this connection, could it be Force sensitivity? I don't know.
Maybe,
but it's going to be hard for me to sit there and say, well, they brought Bo-Katan back, and she's the rightful heir to the throne, and then it's not going to be her. She's going to give it up to him. I don't think he wants that.
He might be the one, like, to conquer with him, and like, oh, that's the dream they get behind.
He's going to help.
Yeah, and he's like, listen, I might be the warrior for Mandalore and bring us to glory, but I can't rule it. Bo-Katan is royalty. She's going to rule it. I'm just going to be the warrior face for everything. Like, the right hand of the queen, essentially. So that could be the angle. The other thing I wanted to touch base about real quick before you get to your Baby Yoda theories, because I know you have Baby Yoda theories.
Always.
When he gets on the Seeing Stone, and like, I think next episode, we're going to see Gideon finds him on this planet.
Because there's also a tracker on the ship.
Aside from the tracker, right? When Baby Yoda uses the Force to reach out to the other Jedi or just reach out to the Force, those tubes and pods are probably on the ship as well, probably better versions. They're probably going to start shaking and rattling and get Force sensitive, realize there's something in the Force, and he's like, oh, they're there. And we're going to see
that'd be cool.
So he's like,
that'd be cool.
Oh, combination, I think something's going on down there. That's just something I think.
And yeah, I think everyone's on board of, okay, if you obviously watch the episode and you're kind of thinking about what's going to happen next, I think everyone's kind of on board with, when he's on the Seeing Stone, he's more than likely going to overcome his fear and become Force sensitive, because it adds that like echelon of character development.
Yeah.
That, which is already brilliant, because he's a character that doesn't really speak, that we can understand. Mm-hmm. But yet we know from expressions. It's a puppet that just has its eyes, ears, and feet and arms move. It's amazing. And we have all this like time that we're going into character development, talking about his possibilities. But I think there's also a small possibility he rejects it.
So what happens if he rejects it?
I think if he rejects it, he's basically, it goes really, really deep into that, lone wolf and cub storyline of Mando is now his almost like adoptive father protector. And it doesn't matter to him if he has powers and he's normal.
If he denies the Force, it's the same issue that happens if he gave up the Baby Yoda, right? If he gives up Baby Yoda denies the Force, that ruins the complex, not the complex, the flow of the show, if you will, right? That's like a big core of the thing. Like, Mandalorian doesn't have Baby Yoda. All right, that's throwing everything off. Like, that's the flow that the show was built upon. Oh, Mandalorian has Baby Yoda, but he's no longer a Jedi. That ruins the whole Mandalorian Jedi dynamic. That they hate each other like Romeo and Juliet, but like they're friends. Like, that just throws it off. And I don't think there's a storyline that warrants either of those two things. I think it's going to be a better story if he does accept the Force, or at least we don't know if he accepted it, but like it shows that like he's still working with the Force. Like I think those would just hurt the show for the sake of hurting it, not for a necessary plot point, if you know what I mean.
But I agree with you. I think when he goes to that Seeing Stone, we're going to see him in like this Force-scape where it isn't necessarily him reaching out. It's him almost like we saw there's a great Clone Wars arc where Anakin is on this random planet that you can't even find. It's like a Force storm took them there, and he has to deal with the light side and the dark side, and he has to control both sides. I think Baby Yoda is going to have to figure out his fear, overcome his fear. We might see into his past, like I said, possibly an Obi-Wan sighting. Maybe we figure out, which I think one of the biggest questions is, how did he escape the Jedi Temple on Coruscant?
Mm-hmm.
The only other being of his kind that we know of, besides Yoda and now Grogu, is Yaddle. And
oh, yeah.
So Yaddle was a female version of Yoda, basically, on the Jedi Masters, in the temple, lived in the temple, was part of the Jedi, Masters Guild, and we don't know what happened to her. We never saw her die.
Yeah.
In Order 66. We don't know if she was on planet or off-world. Could she have been the person that took Baby Yoda and somehow got him to wherever was safe? And when we see Baby Yoda in the beginning of this show, right, the first very episode of The Mandalorian, where he is and whether he's protected or being held there, it's not by people who the Jedi would associate with, right? It's like a bunch of, gangster guild members. It's part of this guild that took over after Jabba the Hutt died on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So they're holding him either for the Empire or to sell him. It's not like, he's held by friendlies there. So I think there's a huge gap of questions that we might get in this backstory.
I have one more thing for you before I get your thoughts on what you think is going to happen next episode. What do you think about the idea of when he reaches out to the Force, right? Because, I've been pondering like throughout your conversation and, obviously watching the episode. I was like, all right, what if he does reach Luke, right? But what if it's not necessarily like the Jedi is going to come to him? What if it's not like that and we see or like we understand that Luke feels that the baby's back and that gives Luke a reason to spark his own Jedi temple, essentially? What if Baby Yoda reaching out to the Force is the spark that causes Luke to say, hey, I need to build a new school to teach all these kids because I have, my nephew who has the Force, maybe. I don't know how the timeline is going to work. But maybe just the idea, like, I need to build a new empire or a new Jedi temple. So that could be something cool.
I think it's a little early for that right now.
Okay, I'm not sure.
But the other aspect that goes along with you is you also have to remember, at this point in time, Luke is now training Leia to become a Jedi.
Oh, in the timeline where we are now? Okay.
In the timeline where we are now. So Leia's being trained to become a Jedi, and this is before she stops her training. And this is kind of like the flashback scene we saw in episode 9.
Okay.
Where Luke's training her and she's going through the forest and like they're cutting stuff up. But that aspect may be like, hey, Luke also has no idea who's left and also realizes that there's still a bunch of dangers. Like just because the Empire's done and Vader and the Emperor were defeated, Luke still is questioning, where do I go from here, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's also, I'm still putting out fires after this regime's over. Very apt. But like I'm still putting out fires and dealing with the remnants of the Empire, and while training Leia, maybe he reaches out and he senses like a positive Force thing. I don't know if they're going to put the money into that for this. I think the other possibility, which we haven't like mentioned yet, is through the Force, right? Jedi temples are very good with past, present, future. It's kind of, and it's something that if you look back into the movies, Yoda always was telling Anakin to be, don't worry about the future. Worry about the here and now. Don't worry about the past. Mm-hmm. Be in the here and now. And Anakin, that was part of his downfall. He could never focus on what was in front of him. And Yoda mentions it again, well, technically the first time, to Luke, right? Your father's head was always in the clouds, never on where he was or what he was doing.
Yeah.
It was always to the future or possibilities, not the here and now. And I think there's a possibility, which is way easier to do. Perhaps Grogu is in this Force-scape. Maybe it's not just Obi-Wan. Maybe it's Yoda. Force Ghost Yoda. Maybe it's Force Ghost Obi-Wan. Maybe it's Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker. Who the hell knows? So, there's rumors that Hayden Christensen might be in the Kenobi series in flashbacks.
Last thing before we wrap up, because we could do speculation for hours. In this next episode, this immediate next episode, you already heard my theory. I think we're gonna get the obviously they're gonna go to the Seeing Stone. Mando is gonna face off against Moff Gideon's forces. They're gonna come and meet him. Do you have an alternative view of what's gonna happen next episode, aside from like the theories with Baby Yoda and the Stone? Do you have any other things that you think might happen that we might see in the next episode?
Yeah, I think there's 8 episodes this season. We're moving on to episode 6 next week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think we're going to see Baby Yoda and the Stone in the temple next episode.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be an episode 7, like climax, and then episode 8 is a little more resolution.
Okay.
I think we're going to get an in-between episode that maybe I can't, like, if we're going to deal with Baby Yoda and the temple and Baby Yoda possibly more into his backstory and the Force and possibly some huge cliffhanging season 2 finale where we either see like a Yoda or an Obi-Wan or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's possible this is the time to bring back Boba Fett.
This is the Boba Fett episode. Okay.
This is the time to bring him back we see the Slave One, which is his ship, following him. He wants his armor back. I think this might be the episode, the calm, the not so calm before the storm.
This is more like the Mandalorian side of the show, like 2 Mandalorians facing off before we dive deep into the Jedi stuff. I can see that. I'm down with that. I think
and
cool.
Maybe it's also the beginning of, Moff Gideon, more of Moff Gideon and the Imperial forces going after Mando. Maybe Boba Fett helps him and fights them off so he can get away to get to the temple.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I feel like I'm not putting all my chips on it, but I feel like we're not going to see the temple and, Grogu on the slab this episode. I feel like it's way more like, hey, just keep your eyes open for possibly Boba Fett popping up this episode.
I like that. Guys, that is our speculation video. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We want to hear your theories down in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen in the next episode and in the future of the Mandalorian series?
And guys, thank you so much. Please give a thumbs up. Like, really helps the channel out a lot more than you know. And definitely, if you're new and this is your first time on the channel or one of your first times and you're starting to like it, give us a subscribe. Share it to other people. Help us out. Really helps us out a lot. And as always, I'm Chris. That's Rob. We are the Jersey Com Crew, and we'll see you next time. This is the way.